So my fear is that we just end up chasing the next thing and never get anywhere because we're constantly trying to adopt a new trend in technology without thinking about why we're trying to do it. So,
Hello everyone, welcome to All About AI's today's episode. I'm your host Faiza Ehsan, and today we are going to explore the human side of artificial intelligence with none other than Neil Harrison, a visionary in AI change management and the founder of the Adaptologist. Neil is dedicated to guiding the leaders through complexities of AI adoption, helping organizations to uncover their true why for embracing AI. If you are curious how to align technology with human values and drive real change, this conversation is for you. So, hello Neil, it's a pleasure to have you on board.
thank you. Thanks very much, and lovely to be invited. Looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. So, let's move forward to our first question. So, human-led AI is a bold vision. In a world fascinated with automation, what does it truly mean to design AI for people, not just for productivity?
Yeah, this is a really good question. One that I've spent quite a lot of time talking about recently as well. And I think, when we started to get to grips with AI, we focused on things that were easy. And that typically led to a focus on automation, reducing costs, higher efficiencies and those sorts of things. And whilst that's useful for getting into AI, it's not the end of the story. I think as we go beyond that and we start thinking about how we can collaborate with AI, so human AI collaboration, I think that's where the real power comes. So we can start to, do things that weren't possible before, reinvent the future, if you like, reinvent what work actually is. And through that focus on, people and AI working together, we can redesign and reinvent what work really means. So,
Awesome. So, since you mentioned that, I'd like to ask, many leaders fear AI will replace human job. How do you flip that fear into an opportunity?
The onus is on us, isn't it, as humans, to decide how we want to use AI. So if as leaders, we're worried about how AI is going to affect jobs, well, let's not just forget whose role it is to define what that future looks like. So, and again, I think I come back to this bigger purpose, this bigger goal. So if we're driven by that, that desire to only reduce costs and only improve efficiency, which of course is valuable work, we miss that greater value that I think AI can bring to the workplace and to people at work. So, and of course, happier people, more productive people focused on, higher level work typically are more productive anyway. So I think it's win-win to keep people in mind. Yeah.
Great. Trust me, you are an inspiration for many people. So, moving forward, what's the most common assumption leaders make when trying to adopt AI, and how do you correct it?
Yeah, I think the most common assumption that I see is to consider AI like other technologies. And so with other technologies, 20 years or more of digital transformation, well, much more actually, 25, 30 years of digital transformation. We've tended to focus on we're delivering an output, a piece of IT, an ERP solution, and we're going to give that to the typically an IT department to lead and deliver, and all that leads to a focus on tools.
Perfect.
And actually, it needs people, doesn't it? So I think forgetting why you're implementing it, the benefits actually that the board want from that tool implementation, and that you need people to come together with the tool to get that value. That's what's often missed.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Okay, so let's get real. Where do most AI transformations go off the rails before they even begin? What do you think?
I think it's that point, actually. I think it's forgetting the people aspect. So if we approach it in a way that we're sort of defining the solution and pushing decision making from the top down and expecting people to adopt. We have Copilot. So
Yeah.
we want you to use Copilot, and there's no sort of sense of people co-creating what that value is for them, or if they can't see strategic value or the value to them, why are they going to use it? So I think the mistake is to miss the people side of the change and the value creation piece.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so let me ask you, what's one emerging AI trend that excites you the most and the one that gives you a pause? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I that's an interesting question. So I don't to be honest, I'm not I think we need to lift ourselves above the trends thing. So dancing spaghetti when that was a thing, that was interesting. And then people posting pictures of themselves as a Muppet. Those things, they kind of trend for a bit, don't they? But I think we need to lift ourselves above the trends and think about it more strategically. So those
Hmm.
trends come and go quickly, don't they?
Yeah,
We see
exactly.
them and AI agents is probably one of the things that there's a lot of focus on at the moment. But again, that focuses on the technology, and I think if we think strategically about purpose, about the why for AI, that removes that sense of we're just chasing the next trend. So my fear is that we just end up chasing the next thing and never get anywhere because we're constantly trying to adopt a new trend in technology without thinking about why we're trying to do it.
Yeah, it just happened. You can never chase anything that won't keep you out of the loop. So, okay, so the fact resistance is real. So, how do you move employees from AI fear to AI fluency?
Yeah. So, resistance, we see this a lot we've got to recognize what is going on in the brain, really, when people go through change. So, neuroscience can help us understand, the difference between people in threat reward threat and reward
Yeah,
responses. And so actually using some of that to personalize change and understand how we can, well, first of all, get to what the concerns are. There are people that are really concerned because they've got all their status from being the best, I don't know, data
yeah,
analyst or something. AI comes along and takes all that away. Well, why would they want to engage with it if that's the case? So understanding status is important, autonomy is important, fairness is important. Understanding those things helps us to tailor how we engage with people so that we can reduce the fear and
great.
and get them feeling more, that there's a reward for them.
Yeah, right. Awesome. So, Neil, what do you think in 5 years, what will be the biggest regret of organizations that didn't adopt the human first approach to AI?
I think if AI isn't seen as a cultural shift, so I'm back to the technology implementation point, but if it's not seen as a cultural shift where leaders are thinking about their behaviors that are needed, but the behaviors in the organization and the mindsets to make the best use of AI through that human AI collaboration piece, I think, there are organizations that are going to look back in 5 years wondering why everyone's left.
Yeah.
So their biggest regret, I think, is missing the people element.
Yeah, that's true. So let me ask you a tricky one this time. If AI were a co-worker, how would you describe them during a performance review session?
Uh, Um, I would probably say stop being so sycophantic. Stop agreeing with everything I say. Because we're seeing a trend in that, I think, at the moment with ChatGPT and others it's designed to agree with you all the time, isn't it? And actually, I think the better value comes from when people feel safe to challenge. And so you don't get much challenge with LLMs, do you? So, and I would say, look, stop agreeing all the time and let's hear some constructive challenge.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to evaluate AI. Huh? So while we are at it, I'm asking you just out of curiosity and be honest. Have you ever said thank you or please to ChatGPT?
Have. I think I started doing it early on because it was just easier. It's just in our nature, isn't it, to
Yeah.
say that. So it was just easier to say it. And then as I became accustomed to it, I stopped doing it.
All
And then
right.
when I heard actually at one point that you get better results, so I started again. But then I heard that's not true. So, or
Yeah.
not necessarily true. So, yeah, I don't do it now.
Okay, great. So, thank you so much, Neil, for taking time to speak with us today. We really appreciate your effort for bringing the change. And honestly, it was such a nice and insightful conversation. Best wishes and good luck for the future. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Take
Thanks very
care.
much for the invite. Bye.